Medallions are a brand new addition to Chapter 5, and for most, they've been either hit or miss. And I got a comment on a recent video of mine, if you know who you are, thank you, asking me to rank every single medallion. I think that's a great idea, so that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to rank every single medallion in Fortnite from worst to best. If you go on to enjoy this video, be sure to drop me a like, use code TYFRYZ in the Fortnite item shop if you would like to support the work that I do here on YouTube. And let's just get right into this one. This will be a fun one. Real quick though, I do have to actually preface that I will be putting all the Chapter 5 Season 1 medallions in one category, one spot on this list, because they all do the exact same thing. They all just regen shield. With that being said, at our number 8 spot, what I believe to be the worst medallion is the Aspect of Speed, or better known as Zeus's medallion. You know, for me, it just didn't do it, and I think it's because of a couple reasons. One, of course, you had Cerberus's medallion, which was an incredible mobility item, so there was already a better mobility medallion, so why would you ever take this one? Honestly, for myself, I felt that this medallion actually messed me up more than it helped me. If you don't know, all this medallion did was make you run faster and jump higher while sprinting. And like, I remember being in build fights and trying to sprint up a ramp and then just jumping, going flying off the ramp and all the way down. And I think the only thing that this medallion does better than some other ones is it totally negates fall damage. You can absolutely save yourself from fall damage. But again, in a season where everybody was holding wings, where you just pull out the wings and stop you from fall damage, I don't know. I did not think this thing was worth the fight from Zeus at all, and I would not have recommended anybody to take it, and I do actually think it is the worst medallion. At our number 7 spot on this list, I'm going to put all the Chapter 5 Season 1 medallions here. And look, these were really tough to rank, because if you guys remember when they launched, medallions were absolutely broken. For me, they actually ruined the first couple weeks of that season, and if they were still the way they were in Chapter 5 Season 1, they would absolutely be number 1, no question. They were an absolute must to win a game, and for me, it felt like whenever you were going against somebody who had a medallion, just put the controller down, you were going to lose. But now they are just really mid since they got nerfed. Every medallion was exactly the same. It didn't matter if it was Nisha's or Peter Griffin's. It didn't matter. All it did was just give you 2 shield a second up to 50 shield. And of course, those numbers would increase depending on how many medallions you had. So for example, if you had 2 medallions, you would get 3 shield a second and 60 shield. If you had 3 medallions, you would get 4 shield a second and 70 shield, etc. But to be honest with you, we have a medallion this season that does exactly this, just even better with 5 shield a second. It's really not that good unless you get like 3 or 4 medallions. At that point, once you start getting 5 shield a second up to 70, 85, 100 shield max, then you're really cooking. But how often are you going to have 3, 4, 5 medallions, right? I think this is a pretty good spot on this list for them. And at our number 6 spot on this list, that is Chapter 5 Season 3's Megalo Don's medallion. And it's actually not even really this medallion's fault that it's this low on the list. If you don't know, this medallion gave you unlimited nitro, and again, you might be saying, oh, like, it's okay, maybe it should be a little higher on this list, but of course, nitro just got nerfed into the ground. If I was making this list on the launch day of Chapter 5 Season 3, this is probably a top 3 medallion, but since nitro has gotten nerfed so hard, I don't think that this is as useful. I'm not saying it's like a bad medallion, but is it worth fighting Megalo Don for and going through all that work to get this medallion? Absolutely not. And I think you would be absolutely fine going throughout a whole game without having this medallion, and even when you fight somebody who has this medallion, it doesn't make that much of a difference. Of course, it used to matter when nitro was actually like insanely overpowered, but now that it's nerfed and back to honestly where it should be, this medallion is kind of useless. Of course, nitro has its use, but in my opinion, I just couldn't put this any higher. And at our number 5 spot on this list, that is the Aspect of Combat, or Aries medallion. Honestly, this medallion's really not that bad. It's just that there are 4 much better medallions ahead of it. This medallion would increase damage with ranged weapons, and depending on how you play the game, this could be really good for you. If you loved using DMRs and you love sitting back doing damage like that, then this thing would be absolutely great. But for me personally, I did not like the long range weapon selection we had that season. Besides the Reaper sniper rifle, I was not a fan of the Warforged AR, I was not a fan of the Nemesis, and I was not a fan of the Huntress DMR. I rarely ran an AR that season, so for me, this aspect was kind of useless. It does go really well with Aries Mythic Warforged AR, so I'll give it that. It has a really good pairing there. And this medallion really does nothing wrong. I mean, it gives you increased damage, so you're not going to complain about that. And Aries' Warforged Assault Rifle on its own was worth going for, so you might as well just take the medallion with it, right? It can't hurt you. Well, maybe, depending on how you look at it. Of course, when you pick up the medallion, of course, you have the yellow circle that gives your area away. So depending on how you look at it, it can't or can hurt you. But yeah, unfortunately, it just falls right outside the top 4. And at our number 4 spot on this list, that's going to be the Machinist medallion. And you know, these Chapter 5 Season 3 medallions are kind of hard to rank because, of course, you don't only just get the medallion, but it kind of acts like a key card for the mythic cars, which, of course, again, if I was making this video on the launch of Chapter 5 Season 3, this would be a whole different list because, of course, those cars have been nerfed a little bit. But all the Machinist medallion does is it regenerates the player's shield, right? So it regens 5 shields a second up to a max of, I believe it's either 70 or 75 shield. I think it's 75. And again, this is just an example of a solid medallion. It doesn't do anything wrong. I think that 9 times out of 10 you're going to pick it up, and it's just essentially a better version of the Chapter 5 Season 1 medallions. It's actually really crazy to think about the fact that this medallion back in Chapter 5 Season 1 would equal holding 4 medallions, which is just unreal. It shows actually how strong it is or how weak the Chapter 5 Season 1 medallions were. And yeah, I mean, it's good. You're going to take the free 75 shield whenever you can. You're not going to complain when you have this. And just an overall solid medallion. No complaints here from me. And cracking the number 3 spot in our top 3 is the Aspect of Siphon or Hades medallion. And I honestly had a really tough time ranking this because it can either be really good and super overpowered if you are that type of player that just loves to frag, go for 20 kill games, or it can be pretty much useless if you like to just kind of sit back and do damage while your teammates go in and kind of sweep up the kills and you like to be kind of the assist support player. As the name suggests, this medallion just gives you siphon every time you would eliminate a player. And again, like I said, if you are the player that loves to just go after kills, play super aggressive, you get this medallion in your hands, you could make an argument that this should be number 1 on this list, and I wouldn't debate you there. But regardless, siphon is always a good thing, and I think objectively this is a very good medallion. Siphon is just a great benefit to have. It doesn't matter if you're in a bad situation, a good situation, anytime you kill someone, it can get that plus 50 health or shield. That is always going to help you no matter what. And for that, it gets the number 3 spot on this list. And at our number 2 spot is Chapter 5 Season 3's Ringmaster Scars medallion. And this medallion is essentially just a crazy buffed up version of Aries medallion that we talked about earlier. This gives you infinite ammo for any weapon. It does not matter. The boom bolt, a pistol, an AR, doesn't matter. Infinite ammo and increased weapon damage for all weapon types. And while Aries medallion gives you like that buff damage on ranged weapons, this just gives buff damage on every weapon. I mean, how insane is that? I think the infinite ammo is kind of cool, right? But ammo never really becomes a problem after you kill like 2 or 3 people. Again, like it is a nice benefit, especially with something like snipers or the boom bolt, where that ammo might be a little tougher to find. But I mean, let's be real here. The main thing you're taking this for is the increased weapon damage. I mean, just like what is there to say? Any weapon you are having increased damage, you are literally going into every single gunfight doing more damage than their weapon. For the most part, of course. You get what I'm saying. I honestly didn't think this medallion was going to be as good as it was, but after seeing gameplay and using it more myself, I gotta say it is a top tier medallion and one of the best we have ever seen. But at our number 1 spot, and I'm sure you all predicted it to be here, everybody knows, I think it's universally agreed on, this is the best medallion. That's the Aspect of Agility or Cerberus's medallion. And it essentially gave you those skulls around your body, that gave you those really good quick bursts of mobility that made you unpredictable, basically impossible to hit, and basically just gave you infinite amounts of them as long as you just kept sprinting. Everybody knows how powerful those skulls are around you. Like I said, you're basically untouchable in those, and you can challenge every fight, you can get away from every fight, you can dodge bullets, you can do whatever you want with this thing. And of course, it's extremely powerful when you pair it up with Cerberus's Gatekeeper shotgun, which is a top tier shotgun, extremely strong. It is honestly such a nightmare to fight against anybody who has this medallion, and I'm sure everybody watching this video knows exactly what I'm talking about, right? If you face a good player with this medallion, it is almost impossible to win that gunfight. And so any item where you can go into a fight at such a major advantage like this has to be top tier. And it absolutely is. I think it's the best medallion we've ever seen. Especially because when you have this, it means that you don't have to hold mobility, right? You can drop that mobility slot and use it for something else, whether it be extra meds, a sniper, something else. That's extremely helpful, and you can't really say that for many of the medallions on this list. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a clear-cut number 1 pick. This is the best medallion of all time. And yeah, guys, that is my list for ranking every single medallion from worst to best. And I'm going to tell you one thing. If I say medallion another time, I think I'm going to go insane. Be sure to drop a like on this video if you enjoy this style of content, and let me know in the comment section, how did I do on this list? Are there some you would switch around? Are there any that I totally whiffed on? Let me know. If you're still listening, thanks for watching the whole video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.